Josie, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. I've had a great time chatting with you for the last few minutes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm super excited too.
It's so good just to get my check-in with the Bay Area, see how everything's going over there, and make sure y'all don't miss me too much because I'm never going back. I like to visit, but I my heart belongs here. And I also have quite a bit of wanderlust as well. So I wanted to live in Massachusetts my whole life, actually, but only lived in California. So I had three cross-country moves as an adult and twice unpacked still in California. So I am still twirling around in my dreamy barn life over here.
That is awesome. Yes. One of my friends says I have wanderlust. It tends to be within the Bay Area, but he was joking the other day. He's like, Josie, you've lived at your house for 6 years, which is the longest I've lived anywhere in my entire adult
Interesting.
life. And he's like, you're gonna move at some point. I know you.
Hey, wow, that's fascinating. Do you do you think you'll stay where you are?
It's funny because my husband and I have been talking about like where could we move? We've thought about it. At one point we even got moving boxes. Um because we're like, oh, we could have the equity in the house, buy a property somewhere else, but we don't know exactly where that is. I think that's the key thing is like we don't know where it is. We both work from home, so there's possibilities. I
Right.
I joke that I grew up on a tropical island, and so I was born in Puerto Rico, and I lived there till I was
Oh,
5.
okay.
And so I cold weather doesn't do it for me. It's like
Sure.
I love Boston, and if it wasn't so cold in the winter, like it would be a place I'd live. Same thing with
Sure.
Vancouver. I adore that city, but it's
Yes.
too cold for me in the winter.
Right.
So maybe I need to be one of those people that has like two homes or something like
Yes.
that. But yeah, I do love the Bay Area.
It's a hard place to leave if you don't have something calling you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just hard to imagine. Like, the weather is perfect and we have a house and great jobs and
Yeah.
beautiful friend base. It draws really fabulous people. I have some of my favorite people still there, and they've all come to visit.
Yes, and I've lived here since I was 20, so
Mm,
in the Bay Area, and so it's to me it's home much more so
sure.
than like Florida or the other three states. Well, I've lived in Puerto Rico, Florida, and Maryland and New Jersey. That's kind of my collection of states and the places I've lived, and it's like this is home. This is really
Mm.
home to me. So,
It's such a beautiful feeling, isn't it? And I love that,
absolutely.
not everybody has that feeling in the same place, which is beautiful.
I think the one thing that always gets to me about the Bay Area is, and this is the where the sometimes the itch comes in about
Sure.
leaving, is there's such the hustle culture
Yeah.
from the tech industry,
Mm,
and a big part of why I left my full-time job in the tech industry is I just like the frenetic energy of this, like your success is directly tied to how many hours you work and busyness being worn as a badge of honor. It's exhausting sometimes, and it's like it's in the air, right?
it
It's
is.
like I have to be very intentional about finding people in spaces where that isn't true.
Right. Right. So how did you make that decision for yourself?
So that was a long time coming.
They
You know,
usually are.
I grew up, my mom was a university professor, and she always encouraged me, Josie, work hard. At the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself no matter like what happens in your life. So I got into the, adult world and was like, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to work hard. I moved to the Bay Area because I loved the tech industry. I moved here in 2000 and I had fallen in love with at that point, tech was supposed to make the world a better place.
That's right.
That's why we all moved here in the dot-com boom, and the weather and the culture was great. The only thing that tripped me out were the avocados here.
Why?
Because we have the little purple shrivelly Mexican avocados here, and I grew up in
Oh.
Florida where you've got the big green avocados. And so the first time I walked into Safeway, I literally thought there was something wrong with their avocados. Like I literally had never seen the little purple shrivelly things. I was like, there is
That's
something
so
wrong.
funny because I had the same experience, but in the opposite direction. I think, what is wrong with these avocados? This is so weird. They're tiny and they look dehydrated. So that's hilarious.
Yeah, so I'm like, avocados, they're supposed to be big and green. So that was the one thing that tripped me out. To this day, I have this vivid memory of walking into my first Safeway and being like, there is something wrong with this avocado.
Funny.
And I did the tech industry thing, right? I started as a software engineer. I worked at a few startups. I then went into some bigger companies. In 2010, I went to Zynga, which was a gaming company that built all of the Facebook games like Farmville back in the 2010s. I went through the hyper growth phase. We went from 1,000 to 2,000 people my first year I was there. Um, then I kind of had my first kind of wake up call, like because during this time period, my mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it most likely had started before then too. Like I saw signs of it in my early 20s, but she was finally diagnosed when I was in my later 20s, and she struggled with it for 8 years. And I was having to navigate that while also my dad's mental health. He always assumed my mom, like he was going to pass away first. Like he had had mental health struggles my entire life. And so him now being in the caregiving position was completely unexpected for him. And
Sure.
so I basically spent a lot of my Zynga time. I was there for 4 years before my mom had passed away, just caregiving both of them remotely across the country because they lived
Mm,
in Florida. Well, they moved back and forth from Florida to Puerto Rico a few times, but caregiving remotely and basically feeling very responsible for this.
sure.
So that was kind of the first wake up call. So in 2014, after she passed away, I moved back to Florida for 9 months to take
Okay.
care of my dad, get him into a better place. And he did. And at that point, I was like, I was missing the Bay Area. So I went back to the Bay Area. But at this point, I had realized a few things. One was life is short. My sister had actually passed away from colon cancer 3 months before my mom in
Oh
her
my
60s.
gosh.
And then my mom passed away, and I was like, life's short. Like that was kind of like the wake up call in the back of my head. But I didn't really give myself time to grieve at this point yet because I had
Mm,
been so in caregiving. Like, I need to take care of like mom's Alzheimer, dad needs support, like all these
right.
things. I was just like, I need to just keep going to
Yeah.
keep doing this. So I came back to the Bay Area, ended up back at Zynga, ended up working there. And then went to Apple for a few
Okay.
years. Worked on Siri Music and Media and Sports. My Siri Music team built 30 features for the HomePod. And then my Siri Media team built the Siri on Apple TV integration. We actually got a technical Emmy for that integration while I was on the
Congratulations.
team. Thank you. And from the outside, my career during Siri could look perfect, right? Like I'm leading two big teams, three, I we got a technical Emmy, like it's great. But inside, I was going through a lot of imposter syndrome,
For sure.
reflecting back, a lot of unprocessed grief, honestly.
Totally.
And by the time, oh, and during that period, my brother also passed away
Oh
from
my gosh.
cancer. And it was in both the situations with my sister and my brother, they both basically didn't take care of themselves. And it got to the point where, like, so it was very sad. And especially with my brother, because I was much closer to him, I always saw him being somebody who was like, he worked really hard. He was like my role model when I was growing up. He's the one who got me into computers and everything else. And he was always living a life where he was like, I'm gonna retire and then like I'm gonna live my life. And he passed away like 3 months before he retired.
Oh,
And so that was one of these really big wake up calls, where I was like, okay, life is short. I'm going through a bunch of imposter syndrome here at my job. I I left in a feeling like I was actually a terrible manager, despite the fact I had people telling me I was the best manager they'd ever had as I was
wow.
leaving. And I gave myself 6 months off. And it's the first time in my career I had really taken longer than like a few weeks off. Like I think I took some FMLA leave. Like I took like 3 weeks of FMLA leave around the time where my mom passed away. But that's not really a break.
Right,
I was in
right.
full caregiving mode at that point. And I really focused on personal development. I learned about journaling and mindset work and meditation. And I worked with a coach for the first time in my life. And it's it was really when I started realizing, oh, I don't have to keep living exactly the way I've been living. And success isn't doesn't have to be just tied to your career. So it was like the first time I started getting that wake-up call, and I thought I was going to leave tech entirely at that point.
Mm.
Um, but I didn't. After a while, a former boss of mine convinced me to join Tile, but I went back under my rules at that point.
Okay.
I had told one of the things I had done when I was at Apple is I started Women at Siri, which has now become Women in AI and ML, which is one of their largest like sub ERGs,
What's an
and
ERG?
employee resource group.
Thank you.
Yes, and so it was
Lifelong entrepreneur over here, never
yes.
corporate job,
So
so I don't know what
so
those things are.
yes. So well, and I hope they're still around. I think they're still around, just with all the DEI stuff. Who
Yeah.
never know these days. A lot of those have been cut. But I had started it because I really saw a need for people to have conversations, right? There was a women in Apple community, but that was more like there were presentations being given. Like you weren't having honest conversations. And but I always felt like it wasn't ever fully appreciated, or it was almost like, oh, that's a little like side thing you do, Josie. Like, don't let that impact your day job. And I had tried to start a mentoring program while I was as part of that, and it kind of got shut down. The VP at the time said he didn't really believe in mentoring, and
What?
so
Oh my gosh. Because that would be so legit.
yeah, and
And just in that on that campus alone.
yes, and so I
Wow.
had designed this whole like how to do it like in a very light touch way that didn't require a lot of efforts. And so when I went to join Tile, I said to my former boss, I was like, "Look, if you want me to join, like I had been working part-time for them because my boss had convinced me to come help them with a few things. So I'd been working part-time. I was like, okay, this is a good team. A new CEO joined. I like, his philosophy. But it's like I need to talk to him before I join full-time. And so I said to the CEO, I was like, look, inclusion can't be lip service here. Like I want to work somewhere, like I will be a great engineering director for you, but I also need to see that, I want to start this mentoring program. I want to help run some of your DEI initiatives. And he surprised me. And he said, well, I promised my wife and daughters I wanted to make Tile the best place for women to work in the Valley. And
Okay.
so I joined and we delivered on that promise. And I definitely say we because to make something like that work, it does take the entire leadership team. And to this day, I still have former colleagues reach out and say, I really miss that inclusive culture we had created back then. And
So
so,
did it not last after you were
well,
gone?
Tile got acquired,
Okay.
so that's that. It unfortunately, yeah. So it has shifted. It went through an acquisition. A lot of basically all of us who had created that culture have now gone off to do other things. While I was at Tile, I started working with an executive coach because I was like, I want to figure out how to be an executive. I was like, I want to make an impact. And at the same time, I don't want to be working insane hours. Like, I want to make an impact, but I want to do this again. How do I do this under my roles? How do I do this in like the uniquely Josie way that I want to create this? And so and it's like sometimes I tell people it's the little things that you do. It's like being willing to, I did Pilates twice a week back then, and it was on my calendar, and people knew like I was double and triple booked for meetings sometimes, but people knew you don't book over Josie's Pilates because she's not going to show up to the meeting. Like it's just not going to happen.
That's great.
And so it's those little things where you can create a culture where people respect that, hey, you're going to get the best work out of folks if you let them also lead the life that they want to. And then I actually crafted my VP of engineering role. So it was in the middle of COVID. We were about to scale two large technical initiatives. We were going to double the engineering team size. And I saw this opportunity for my boss, who was the VP at the time, to become the CTO, to have him really focus on the technical side, and then have me focus on the hiring and reorganizing how the organization was structured and works to grow quickly.
Sure.
And so created that proposal. The CEO, we went back and forth a little bit, but after 3 or 4 months, that went through. So that was exciting. So I became VP of software engineering. My boss became CTO. We doubled the engineering team in 3.5 months, restructured the whole organization, and did that while keeping the inclusive culture. And I realized
During a
after
pandemic.
during the pandemic,
Yeah.
yes, in the middle of the pandemic. And I realized I did it, right? Like from a like check the check box on career accomplishments. I realized I did it, and I also realized what I really loved doing was helping others, right? Like I love using my technical brain, right? I can
Sure.
build technology. I've done everything from little small startups to large scale companies. Like I love using the engineering side of my brain. But where I truly believe my role is in making an impact is helping leaders thrive in this
Mm,
industry where hustle is usually considered the way to go. And especially for women in tech. Over 50% of women end up leaving the tech industry by the age of 35.
mm,
And people assume it's because they want to start a family. And yet, while that is a reason, the top reason is because of unfair treatment and bias and feeling unincluded. And so in July of 2022, I left Tile and started my coaching practice. And now I work with engineering leaders and women in tech leadership to really help them craft their careers. And I always tell people, it's not that I'm against like wanting a promotion, wanting that seat at the table. Like if that's what you desire, like absolutely, like I will help you go get that. I will, especially for engineering leaders, it's often you're showing up with execution instead of strategy, right? It's like I will
mm.
help you go do that. But at the same time, I run into so many people who've been doing this for 25 years, and they tell me, I'm not happy. Like I've hit success, but I'm not happy. And that is really where I help people figure out, okay, what's next? Like, how do you find happiness today? And that might not mean quitting your job. There's, financial reasons where that might not be the right answer right this second. But how do you start taking the small steps so that your career isn't your entire life, but you've designed a life where your career is supporting the life you desire.
Yes, yes. So beautiful. Beautifully said and desperately needed.
Hmm. Especially in this industry and especially here in the Valley, which is part of the reasons why I stick around, even if it can be overwhelming
For
sometimes.
sure, because your path before your career shift is what qualifies you for the role that you have now.
Yeah,
So it's not that any of that was bad. It's like it's all everything is always working out for us. It's happening for
100%.
us. It is not happening to us. When we can shift how we feel about the situations
Hmm.
and have a different perspective of, okay, like that happened. I didn't like it. So I will not be going back there and recreating that over and over again. So how are you helping people? I mean, you talk about workplace PTSD, and it can be obviously like that's the whole point. Like it's so triggering that even if you're in a new organization, the culture is is alive and well in the whole industry. So how are you finding your way through this?
So you mentioned PTSD, and it is so true. And I have a specific story that I'll share about after I left Apple when I went to Tile, where it really came to head. And also share an example from a recent coaching client, which is, and I kind of highlight, how I recognize this myself, and then I'm able to recognize it in others and
For
help them
sure.
process it, right? And so for myself, like I said, when I left Apple, I was burnt out, going through a lot of imposter syndrome. And I did all that mindset work, right? I started journaling, I started doing meditation. So by the time I joined Tile, and as I think I mentioned, I joined Tile first part-time a little bit because my former boss convinced me. He's like, "We need some help. Come do this." And it was not a leadership role. It was the web team needed some help. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll go back to my engineering roots. Like that seems safe. I was like, I'll
Right.
code for a little bit. Like that seems very safe to do. And I joined, and there was two things and that happened my first week that were very eye-opening to me. The
Mm,
first one was I was not getting any email at 10 o'clock at night. In my Friday of my first week, I was convinced I was being left out of conversations, that somehow people weren't trusting me. Because at Apple, there was this unspoken, the engineering managers and the TPMs would work between like 9 to 11 or 10 to midnight at night. And it was unspoken. Nobody ever said, oh, you have to do this. And yet, if you didn't, people kind of looked at you like, oh, why aren't you engaging in this activity? And you'd also wake up to like potentially 100 emails and messages that you need to deal with.
yeah.
So
I have
it
a
was
lot of friends that are there.
so it was overwhelming on both
Mm,
sides. And I was convinced, I was like, this must happen, even though it was really interesting because this was not a pattern that had happened at Zynga. We had different issues there of like how much we ended up working sometimes, but like this kind of unspoken philosophy, it didn't happen there. So I like in other companies I'd worked at too, this didn't happen. But for some reason it had gotten so ingrained in my brain that I
mhm.
was like, this is how companies work now, and I must not be being included. So that was one wake-up call. And the other one was that same Friday. I had been brought in. The first task I was given was to fix a bug that nobody else in the team had figured out. And it was kind of a hard problem to solve. But I was like, it's Friday. I've been here a week. I didn't fix it yet. I'm gonna get fired. Like that was literally like both of those thoughts go through my head. And then I fix it a week and a half later, and everyone's like ecstatic that I figured it out. And I'm sitting here going like, it took me so long to fix. And reflecting, and when I like reflected at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I had processed all this baggage from the time at Apple, but I obviously still have some trauma to actually process here still.
I
And
want to just acknowledge and I appreciate you calling it what it is
yeah.
because, you know, some people feel like they can't say it. Some
Hmm.
people feel like, well, do you want to be the best or do you want to be a loser? Like
Hmm.
there's so much peer pressure. I mean, it's essentially like high school, but
Yeah.
it, but also it is traumatic. And when it's happening at work and it's happening to so many people, you also get into this mindset where, well, if it was trauma, like it would be behind a closed door and no one would know about it. So this is little t trauma. And, but the ripple effects of the families of the people that are waiting for their husband to come home, married 20 years, felt like a newlywed for how many hours
Hmm.
we spent together, like it's really bad.
Yeah.
It
I
is happening, and I appreciate that you're talking about it
I've had two coaching clients go on medical leave
for sure.
for having both of them actually had their doctors say they had PTSD. One of them literally had their hair falling out, which is, and I got her to the point where I was like, you need to leave this job. Like I was having to tell her, you need to leave. And sometimes it's not that extreme, right? Like a
Well, yeah,
recent
let's hope so.
yeah, and it's not always that extreme, right? But a recent coaching client, she had had a situation where somebody had come in at her previous company and had kind of taken over the role and the work she was doing and kind of pushed her aside. And now she's starting a new role. And despite the fact that things are different, her boss who hired her left and a new manager was coming in. And one part of what we needed to unpack is she was really freaking out about the new manager coming in, but she's like, is the same thing going to happen again? And, I think people don't like to call it trauma, right? But it truly is. Like you
Yes,
had something happen which is impactful to you,
right.
and we need to process that, right? And part of what I do is, I love working with engineering leaders and technology leaders because I can both deep dive into the technical side, help them design a
Right.
good tech team, all of the organizational pieces, like how do we build products effectively? And at the same time, I bring this piece, which a lot of people don't talk about, which is all right, but how do we deal with the mindset
Yeah,
side of
and
things?
nervous system regulation.
100%. So, like, nobody talks about nervous system regulation in this industry. You're just
Right.
kind of
It's just an
expected.
eye roll.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
nobody
you
wants
and
to
your
talk about
woo
it. Yeah, I'm
woo.
woo. I'm way too woo for some people, and that's okay. That is okay. Like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't care if some people think I'm woo, I'm
Yeah,
too
we
woo.
actually, in places that are not the Bay Area, we just call that healthy.
Yeah.
Just so you know, in case you like, I can translate that for you. Yeah,
And I've just gotten to the point where, like, if you think I'm too woo, that's okay. Like, I know I've gotten a lot more woo than I was 5 years ago, and it's
for
a
sure.
good thing. Like, I
Yeah.
actually consider it a really good thing. And sometimes I'm like, 5 years ago, me would not have understood me right now. And so
Right.
that's okay. Like, it's part of the growth and the journey. And, but I like being able to come in and help people think about, okay, it is normal that you feel this way, and yet it is not serving you right now.
Exactly.
So first,
Yeah,
how
you're
do
not
I,
making it up. And
yeah,
yes, it is industry wide and
yeah.
it's not okay.
Yeah. So first, how do we process some of this when it comes up, right? And to be clear, like I'm not a therapist. I give people practices and processes. If I feel like somebody is at the point where I'm like, you also should work with a therapist, I will tell them that
Right.
too. But I'm also like, I have a lot of tools and tricks in my bag of tricks of like things that people can do, like worry journaling or like all the nervous system regulation. Like there's so many little things you can be doing to help regulate your nervous system. So first, it's that part. And then the other part is it's not like these things magically go away
Mhm.
overnight. So the other thing I call it loving accountability, which is where I'm like, I'm never going to judge you, but what I will do is I'll call you out in a very loving fashion when I see you not setting yourself up for success or allowing a past trauma to shape how you're thinking about a situation in a way that actually isn't serving you.
What a gift you are.
So thank you. I appreciate that. So that's what I help people do.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. And yeah, I would stay in the Bay Area. You have intense job security.
That and so that is what I do. That is what I love helping people with
Mm,
and and nobody, like I said, very few people are talking about both sides of the
mhm.
equation.
For
And
sure.
that's why I love doing what I do with the folks that I help do it with because you do need somebody sometimes who you can talk about both sides of the
Yes.
equation with.
Yes. I have a couple of people that I want to connect you with as well. One is a psychiatrist that is doing quite a bit of research around PTSD and how it's playing out in the off the court actions in the NBA.
Mm.
It's really fascinating work, and he went to Stanford Med School, so he's like knows a lot of your people and all of this, and then also Elizabeth Bianek. She um, wrote the book Cake on Tuesday. She was in tech for a very long time and has a fabulous podcast. I will definitely connect you. Cake on Tuesday podcast as well. But
Nice.
I'm interested in like you mentioned two things that you're helping your clients do that they can integrate in the moment, and I think it would be really helpful to our listeners to hear. You mentioned the worry journal, so I'd
Mm-hmm.
love for you to talk about that and about these, some simple things that people can do when they are at their desk and they got the email and it's 11:45 p.m. Like, what are these
Yeah.
nervous system regulation? Because we can also do it at the kitchen counter when we
Mm-hmm.
read our own email in our own house or in the school pickup line or whatever. Like, these are transferable skills.
Yes.
So
So
I'd love to hear.
So that's starting with the worry, it's a combination of either like a worry dump or a worry time, and depending on the person and how they're feeling, I suggest one of the two, like kind of how it comes up for them. But so let me give both strategies. The first is um, just have a fear worry dump, right? Like get out a piece of paper and literally just write it all down. Write every little fear piece, like everything out on a piece of paper. And just sometimes we literally just need to get it out of our heads, right?
Yes,
Like
and get it out of
sometimes,
your body. What you get out
yeah,
of your body cannot make you sick.
yeah. Just sometimes we literally just need to just like get it out there. And then I tell people like, okay, then read through the list. Is is that an item that you have any control over? And if it's not, you're just gonna let it go. Is it something that you can take a quick, like 1 or 2 minute action on? Then do that 1 or 2 minute action. Another one is like, do you have to schedule a next action? Or maybe it's something you need to like you want to do? Like, what is the next action for it? Put that in your calendar or in your to-do list or whatever. And then after you've gone through your list, tear it up, burn it, like do something ritualistic to be like, I am now letting this go. So that's one approach that I help people with. I also have the folks who like worry just keeps coming up all the time. Like maybe they wake up in the middle of the night, and for them, I say, let's set aside a worry time. And sometimes people need this on a daily basis, and then
Mhm.
once it's gotten under control, you can do it at once a week or things like that. And what I tell them is every time a worry comes up, tell your brain now's not the appropriate time to worry about this, but at 8 p.m., 6 p.m., whenever you've scheduled your worry time, and you're going to keep that calendar appointment. Like that's the thing. To make this work, you have to keep this calendar appointment.
Sure.
And you tell your brain, like, I can't worry about this right now, but I promise at worry time, we're going to worry about it all you want. And then you show up for your worry time. And I'm not saying do this for hours. Like give yourself like 15, maybe 30 minutes when you start if you need to do a lot of worrying. And you're going to worry your heart out during that 15 to 30 minutes. You will let yourself worry any fear and worry that comes up. You're just going to worry about that worry there.
Are we
And
also journaling our worry?
you don't have to. Like you
Okay.
if you do want to, like feel free because some people do feel better just writing it out. So if you want to write it out. But the idea here is more it's about feeling it and letting the feeling go through you. So whether it's writing it, whether it's literally just sitting there and thinking about, well, I'm worried about this thing and I'm worried about this
Yep.
thing and I'm worried about this thing. And then at the end of your worry time, you're like, all right, that is my worry time for today. I'm done until the next time. And then the same thing. When your brain comes up and a worry comes up, I'm going to worry about it at worry time. And a funny thing happened to one of my clients at one point, and she's like, I'm worried that I'm going to forget about the things I'm going to worry about when I get to worry time. And I'm like,
You're
that's
welcome.
okay. That's
We call
okay.
that a win.
Yes,
That's
that's
good.
a good thing. That is okay. And it takes a little bit, but you're training your brain that 3 in the morning is
Not
not an
worry time.
appropriate, it's not worry time, but you're giving that part of you the space to have a voice. And
Yes.
that is why you end up worrying at all these other times because you're not giving that part of you a space to have a voice.
Mm. I love how just kind and tender that is. And we get to do that to our for ourselves.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And
Yeah.
when you're being beat up at work and, feeling like you can't catch up, like just even the idea of tenderness is transformative.
Hmm.
And the
And
fact that you give
everybody
it to
can give
yourself.
themselves 15 minutes of a
Yeah.
day. You can, everybody, no matter how crazy busy things are, you can carve out your little 15-minute worry time if this is something that's keeping you up in the middle of the night.
Right. And if you do it while you're walking, and
Yeah.
you can also,
Yeah.
chances are, if you practice this, it's going to get down to about 2 minutes really fast.
Yeah. So that's specifically for worry.
Love that.
And then the other one is regulating your nervous system. And I think people are going to dismiss potentially some of these like little things I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about some interesting research that which is why I feel this is so powerful. So during the pandemic, I believe it was Microsoft did a research study of looking at people who were on Zoom all day. And they had two groups. They had one group that was in back-to-back meetings on Zoom all day, and another group where they gave them an access to the Headspace meditation app. And
Mhm.
between each meeting, they had them meditate for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And they did brain scans of their brains. The first group that didn't do any meditation, by the end of the day, even if nothing traumatic happened, their brain was in fight or flight. These were red brain scans in fight or flight by the end of the day. The group that was meditating for just 5 minutes between their meetings had much calmer brain scans. And so what that really highlights is it's those little things that you can do. So, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I have to go meditate for an hour at the end of the day or something like that, or I need to somehow figure out how to go into complete stillness, or I need to journal for 30 minutes. And yet, and it's funny because like exercise is kind of the same thing too, and it's a very big parallel to this. It's like it's actually those little 5-minute things that you can do throughout the day that are much more impactful. And
Yeah.
so it might just be maybe you do have a busy schedule where you have back-to-back meetings. It might be you take instead of checking your email between meetings, you
Mhm.
stand up and you look outside the window and you identify colors outside your window for 30 seconds. Or you do some deep breath work where you're breathing in for 4 and out for 6, so you're regulating your nervous system. It might be you go to the kitchen and you get some coffee and maybe you do some stretches while you're in the kitchen, or maybe you do a few push-ups against the counter, right? We can encourage exercise is actually great at nervous system regulation too, as long as it's not too extreme, right? And so it's incorporating these little things throughout the day, which are
Mm.
really going to regulate your nervous system. You mentioned something, which is you're going to get that email sometimes, or maybe you're going to get really triggered in the middle of a meeting, right?
Oh,
And you can't go like stare out the window or be like,
no.
I need a 5-minute break. Sorry, piecing
I'll be
out in the
identifying colors. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. And so, and this is a trick I learned from Dr. Shazad. He's at I think he was at Stanford. He wrote a book called Positive Intelligence and has a program around this. And it's he calls them PQ reps, which are positive intelligence quotient reps. And I'm not going to go into like his science behind it, but it's these like little things that you can do in the moment. And it's really in summary, it's about really getting in tune with your body instead of letting your mind take over the show. And so if you're sitting in a meeting and you're feeling triggered, it can be as simple as rubbing your fingertips together for 30 seconds
Mm.
and feeling the pressure, feeling the ridges, feeling all the little details. And nobody's gonna like know what you're doing if you're just sitting there rubbing your fingers. Nobody's gonna like look at you funny. Or it could just be like feeling your butt on your seat, right? Like how does it feel? Like what's the pressure there? Like or even identifying like, oh, huh. My neck muscles are feeling really tight right now. Like, what do I need to loosen them? And these are all things that you can do in the moment, in the middle of a meeting, to just help yourself refocus and regulate your nervous system a little bit when you're getting triggered.
Right. Because even just the distraction of thinking about doing the action pulls you out
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you're really tuning into your body instead of letting your brain run the show.
Right. Right. Oh, it's so good. You are very good at this, Miss Josie. I love this conversation. It's been a while since I've been in the Bay Area and I don't have many tech conversations anymore. And I thought, okay, this might be a heavy lift, but I'm here for it. But you're so good.
I'm one of those very unique people who
You
could deep
are.
dive into a conversation about how to build large scale tech and also talk about mindset and the
Right. I
same.
wouldn't I wouldn't have pegged you for an engineer.
Yeah, it is funny. That is not the first time somebody has said that. They're like, you do not seem like the typical engineer. And I'm like, I know. And I'm proud of
I
it.
love it. And I know we didn't even talk about AI, and I do have some questions. I would love to have another conversation with you because I want
Absolutely.
to be sensitive to your time. But I know we have lots to talk about. But is there anything that like as AI relates to what we've been talking about that you would like to share? Um,
Yeah,
what are
so I'll give you my thoughts on AI, right? I think there's like the TLDR conversation on this that we could definitely deep dive into.
I know
So
what that one means. Too
too
long,
long,
didn't
didn't read.
read, sweet
Yes.
listener, in case you don't know. You're not hip like me.
Um, so one is yes, AI is changing jobs. Yes, there are, especially in the tech industry, it really is impacting what a software engineer does day in and day out.
Okay.
And at the same time, this does not mean that every single job is disappearing tomorrow. The current technology is honestly not there yet. And we would need to figure out a completely different evolution of the technology. I'm not going to go into the technical aspects of why, but it is not there and it is not magically going to like there needs to be some serious engineering work for this to become a reality. So first, it's like, yes, things are shifting. I'm not saying they're not. But at the same time, this like doom and gloom, like everything's going to be replaced. Like it's great headlines to keep people in control. Like I actually think that
I
that's
know.
part of it, right? I think
I feel
it
like,
is.
are there really only 10 news stories for this entire planet that we're just going to double down and say them louder and over again? It's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Okay.
And then so that's one thing. I always tell people I'm like don't just trust the CEOs who are benefiting from this and their stories. So that's one side of it. And the other side of it is like AI is here. It's not going away. And so also don't just stick your head in the sand and pretend that AI isn't going to shape things. And so I tell people focus on first the human-centric skills, especially for people who want to be leaders, right? Focus on the things that are uniquely human that AI cannot do, right? It does not have a great ability to judge. It does not have empathy. So focus on those human-centric skills like navigating uncertainty. It can only tell you what it already knows from a pattern matching perspective. Like it can't see multiple ideas and bring them together in a unique way. And that is what our human brain is really good at doing. So focus on those skills and then also focus on learning how to leverage AI effectively within your space and environment, whatever that means. And I think because there's such a low barrier to entry to using AI, right? You just log in, you ask it questions. I think everyone kind of thinks like, oh, I know how to use AI. But there's a big difference between like the entry, like just asking a question to there's some really powerful ways everybody could be using AI for their businesses, right? Or what they do on a day-to-day basis, even if they're not in tech at all.
Right.
And, I always tell people like find a personal project and learn how to leverage AI to help you do that thing and start like see if you can maybe build a little app for yourself. Maybe it's not going to be perfect, maybe it doesn't work, but the more you start learning about what the technology can do for you, the more other ideas you're going to have, and as it keeps evolving, you're not going to be left behind.
Right. I mean, you can use it in like this is such a low barrier to entry. Like this is very low hanging fruit, is what I mean. My friend is going on a trip.
Hmm.
Actually, she used this for planning for Christmas dinners as well. And she said, I have 17 people coming over for Christmas Eve. This is what I'm making. Here's the recipe. I need to scale it for this many people.
Hmm.
And these are the things that I want to have done. And this is how I want to feel in the days
Hmm.
leading up to this party. Can you create a timeline And so it created the shopping list, it created the timeline, it created the playlist for her to listen to as she was getting ready to create this meal. And in the process of making the meal, she misread one of the ingredients and it was way too spicy. And
Hmm.
she thought, oh my gosh, like people are coming in a few hours and I have to start this whole thing over. And I've been feeling, but she asked, like, this happened. How do I fix it? And it was like all of these remedies from all of these top chefs using ingredients she had in her, like, so we can like be magicians in our own kitchen
Yes.
if we're not afraid and start leveraging like, oh, I just got myself a personal assistant. That's pretty amazing.
Another one that has a pretty low barrier to entry that I love sharing with folks is Google has this product called Notebook LM. And what it lets you do is you can upload sources to it. Like let's say you're a history buff, right? And or actually going back to the travel example, let's say you're traveling somewhere new. You're going to Europe, you're going to Ireland, and you can tell it, hey, here's a bunch of travel sites around Ireland, or you can ask it, find me a bunch of travel sites around Ireland, and you can say, okay, create me a podcast. And it will actually generate a podcast of two people talking about the topic you want it to talk about. And you can actually interrupt the podcast and ask questions, and it will shift what the rest of the podcast says.
That is so cool. And I do not feel threatened like I'm out of a
Yeah.
job.
No, no, because it's different, right? It's still talking about only things that like it knows about, right? And so yeah, it's not about replacing podcasters,
Right.
but it's a great resource to, and I tell people like anybody can go like create an account, go Google Notebook LM, find the link, come up with something you want to listen to and then yeah, or talk, learn more about and use it for that.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's so fun. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can engage with your work, all the good things.
Yes, so the best place to find me is either on LinkedIn. You can just look me up on LinkedIn under Jossie Haines, or my website is josiehaines.com. And for engineering leaders and women in tech leadership, I offer free strategy calls. The booking link is on either my website or on LinkedIn, where we can talk about, what's the right next step for you in your career journey, whether that's sticking around like so often we feel like, especially as we go up the career ladder, that there's nobody else to talk to. And part of this is
Mhm.
like I want to just create a space for people to realize like you don't have to do this alone. Part of the success journey doesn't mean you somehow figure this all out alone. Like that's a badge of honor you don't have to have. Like you can do this the easier mode way.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, thank you. We'll link everything down in the show
Thank
notes.
you.
I really enjoyed this conversation, Josie. Thank you for your time.
Yes, I loved chatting with you as well. And if you're ever in the Bay Area, hit me up and we can grab some coffee or lunch or something.
I sure will. Thank you.